Come along with us as we set sail on the Celebrity Edge for an epic 12-night cruise traveling all across New Zealand and ending in Sydney, Australia. This video will be covering each port of call on our amazing itinerary, including excursion recommendations and how to make the most of your time at each and every stop. I'll also share everything you need to know about sailing on board the beautiful Celebrity Edge, from dining to entertainment and everything else in between. So let's get into it. Welcome to Auckland.
Welcome to Auckland.
Woo-hoo! Our first stop after landing in Auckland, New Zealand was to go check into the beautiful Celebrity Edge cruise ship to drop our bags before going to explore the city. Woohoo! All right, we are boarding. We have our room. Let's check it out. So here's a peek at our guest room here on the Celebrity Edge. This is an infinite veranda room, and it is so spacious and very like modern, sleek. Brett is hiding in the corner there. And yeah, it's gorgeous. We got a little bottle of champagne, and we are so psyched to be here and be taken off tomorrow. Okay, so look at the bathroom. Honestly, really well sized for being on a cruise ship. All right, so one of the coolest features of the infinite veranda room is this little guy that opens right up. Obviously right now we just have like port views, but once we are out on the water, it's gonna be spectacular. And it's definitely one of our favorite features of the ship. I absolutely loved that we stayed docked overnight in Auckland the first night. It gave us an opportunity to go explore the city on our own time and really just enjoy ourselves, stay out late, whatever we wanted to do. I believe they were also offering excursion options for this very first day, but since we had something booked in Auckland for tomorrow, we decided to just explore on our own accord. Kiwi of the trip.
It's delicious.
Delicious. All right, 10 out of 10. One of the top must-dos while exploring Auckland is to go check out the Sky Tower. For those who are feeling adventurous, they offer a skywalk and a sky jump. I like them. Heck yeah. Their little Sky Tower mascot. He's looking quite crazy.
You do look like him.
Instead of paying the admission cost to go up to the viewing platform, you can instead just get a reservation at the bar or restaurant, which I highly recommend.
We're in the Sky Bar.
No, Sky Tower.
Sky Tower.
We're in the Sky Tower. I guess it's the Sky Bar. You're actually right.
It's a Sky Bar in the Sky Tower.
It is indeed the Sky Bar in the Sky Tower, and just so you know, the drinks are reasonably priced as well. Although it might be tempting to go back to the ship and eat for free, having an overnight at a port is like the perfect opportunity to go out for dinner, and Auckland certainly has plenty of incredible restaurants. If you love Asian food as much as we do, I highly recommend going to Hello Beastie. This is located in the Viaduct Harbor. Kicking off day 2 bright and early with our very first shore excursion of the trip. Since we already walked around and explored the city on our own, we decided to go with an excursion that would take us to Waiheke Island for ziplining. The ferry ride here to the island is only about 30 minutes, and this is actually just one of a handful of different islands you can visit and explore all within Auckland Harbor. Exploring the islands would make like a perfect pre-cruise trip if you're able to fly out to Auckland early. Our group arrived at EcoZip Adventures and we were so excited. The views here are unbelievable. We took a quick safety briefing and then we were off to our first zip line. Okay, what are we doing?
We're going upside down.
2, 1, go!
After ziplining, we did a little walk through the forest, learned about some of the plants and trees, and then headed back to the ship.
Leaving Auckland! Woohoo! Okay, so it's day 2 and we are in Bay of Islands, New Zealand. Let me see the ticket. We're headed to do a wildlife sailing adventure. Are you excited?
Super excited.
All right, let's see how it goes.
There are 144 islands in Bay of Islands, so taking a boat ride excursion is definitely the way to go to get a good view of everything that is here. It is also one of the best places in New Zealand to spot dolphins and other wildlife, including penguins. After a relaxing sail around the bay, we stopped at an island to go check out a beach and have lunch.
All right, so we made it to our beach destination here in the Bay of Islands. And we have little picnic lunches, and we're gonna take a quick walk up here to get a good view, and then we'll head down to the beach. Woohoo! Bay of Islands! We had lunch and we did a little hike, and now we are getting in the water. It is pretty cold, but it actually feels really refreshing. The sun here in New Zealand in the summer is extremely strong, so it's feeling pretty good. Baby. The 360 camera expert. And there is the boat that we came here on. So yeah.
Bay of Islands was one of our shortest port days, so after the excursion, it was already time to grab a tender boat and head back to the cruise ship. I decided to go do a few laps around the track on the top deck while the ship set sail, and the views were absolutely stunning. We also checked out one of the live game shows that they put on in the club that night, as well as the show that was in the main theater for the evening, which is called Kaleidoscope. Our next port of call was Tauranga, New Zealand, and for this stop, I'm going to be showing you 2 different excursion options. The first excursion is going to be a trip to Rotorua, where we did a Maori experience and visited a hot spring, followed by another excursion option offered at this port, which is a trip to Hobbiton, the Lord of the Rings movie set. For context, the reason I have footage of both is because I had originally wanted to do the Hobbiton tour, but it ended up being totally sold out, so we ended up flying to Auckland a day early and took a bus tour here instead. So without further ado, here is excursion option 1. This full-day excursion kicks off with a visit to Tapuya, a geothermal and Maori culture center, where you'll start your visit with a delicious buffet lunch at a restaurant that looks right over the geothermal geysers.
Oh yeah, it's looking good. This buffet is very good.
I want one of everything.
One of everything.
After that, we attended a Maori cultural performance. We also went on a quick tour of the Maori Arts and Culture Center, and then checked out the mud pools, which I frankly could have watched bubble all day long. We were able to get up close and personal with Pahutu Geyser and had a great view when it erupted. This happens about 20 times a day, so you have great odds of seeing it while you're here. This is also one of the very few places in New Zealand that you are guaranteed the ability to see a kiwi bird. Videos aren't allowed due to their light sensitivity, but that's what they look like. The next stop on our excursion was to go check out the Polynesian hot spring spa located just down the road. This was a nice stop overall, but the springs do get a little bit crowded, and you should also be aware of the sulfury smell that will be left behind on your swimsuit. Not a huge deal, but be sure to pack an extra. Here's Britt enjoying the cold plunge pool, which she says is not actually all that cold.
I can do it, you can do it.
It's kind of cold. Next up, we have our second excursion option, which is the Hobbiton tour. Coming here is truly such a uniquely New Zealand experience, and by no means do you need to be a Lord of the Rings fan to enjoy this. I have never seen the movies or read the books.
Each door on the Hobbit pole represents what the Hobbit does, and that one was a pumpkin, so he was a pumpkin farmer.
Britt was doing a lot of Googling on the ride here to learn about the movie, so don't come for us if the pumpkin farming thing is not correct. So what do you think, Britt?
I love hobbits.
We love it. It's very cute. The landscape and all of the tiny details are what makes this place so magical to explore. It is very much so a one-of-a-kind experience. Just a year ago, Hobbiton opened these 2 Hobbit holes that are fully furnished that you can go inside and explore. They are based on some of the interior set designs from the movie, and they are so cool. Again, the attention to detail in here was just pure magic. Before leaving, you'll make a stop at the Green Dragon Inn Tavern for a quick drink. Okay, tell me what's what.
This is the cider.
Okay.
And this is the light beer.
Which one's better?
The cider.
Okay, cool. Regardless of which excursion you choose, you will both start and end your day back at the port Tauranga. And I hate to do it, but I'm going to further complicate your decision on what to do with the day that you have at port here, because this was by far my favorite port. The ship is able to dock right in walking distance to everything, and it is seriously such a cool beach town with the most gorgeous views and hikes. We could have easily spent the entire day just exploring here on our own and made it a non-excursion day, so essentially you really can't go wrong with what you do this day. Again, if you're thinking about coming to Auckland early and doing some on-land exploring before your cruise, this could make a great spot to visit because it is only a 3-hour drive from Auckland. A few highlights from our evening included a beautiful sail away, a fantastic performance by a concert violinist in the main theater, and a visit to the Martini Bar at 8 p.m. for their nightly show, and of course, a drink or two. Welcome to our 4th port of call, Napier, New Zealand. Napier is known for having tons of beautiful wineries located just outside of the downtown area. So for our excursion this day, we booked a visit to the beautiful Craggy Ranch Winery for lunch and a tasting.
US. But if there is other wine and more stored.
This was a fairly short port day for us, so we didn't have time to explore town after we got back, but it did look super cute. So if you get a chance to book something that leaves you with some time to explore, I definitely would recommend doing that here. We watched Sailway this day from the Magic Carpet Bar, which is truly one of the coolest spots on the Celebrity Edge. It hangs off the side of the ship and offers incredible views. The next morning, we arrived in Picton, New Zealand, our first stop on New Zealand's South Island. Our excursion didn't start until the afternoon on this day, so we decided to head into town and do some exploring on our own. There's not a ton to do at this port, but it is super scenic, and there was a market and quite a few little gift shops. We also went to check out this little toasty shop that Britt discovered on TikTok. You only really need about an hour or two to explore this port, and it is a great day to prioritize taking an excursion. In the afternoon, we set out for a kayaking excursion through the beautiful Marlborough Sounds. This ended up being one of our favorite excursions, and I highly recommend getting out on the water while you're here.
Wow, baby.
Woohoo!
Oh my god, it's so crazy looking. I see it moving. My paddle queen.
When you pick them up, they're pretty solid lumps of jelly.
Do you want to touch the top?
No.
Accommodation. If you want to be in Flash Hotel.
We just finished kayaking. What did you think, Britt?
It was gorgeous.
Amazing views. We saw a bunch of jellyfish, some of which do not sting, so you can pick them up out of the water. They're like these big blobs.
We saw starfish.
We saw starfish. We didn't see any stingrays, but there are apparently stingrays. But it was just really beautiful and a nice little afternoon. And there was only 6 people on our excursion, so the groups really are not that big. I know a lot of people assume like all cruise excursions are huge groups, but it was a small little group. So yeah, back to the boat.
When arriving and departing from Picton, your ship will be traveling through a few miles of beautiful sound, so make sure that you are up on the top deck and get to take in all of the views. If your stateroom has an infinite veranda like ours did, that's also a great spot to catch it. For dinner, we tried out the Rooftop Garden Grill, one of the specialty restaurants on board. Since it's located outside on the top deck, I highly recommend saving this for one of the nights where you have a beautiful sunset and views you don't want to miss. The next day, we arrived in Wellington, the capital of New Zealand. Our excursion this day did not start until the late afternoon, so we went into the city to explore on our own, starting with a ride on the Wellington cable car. Tickets for this are only a few dollars, and you can buy them right at the station. At the top, you'll find amazing views of the city, some scenic walking trails, and a cafe. There is also a free shuttle offered here that runs about every 30 minutes and takes you to Zealandia. Considered to be one of Wellington's top must-see attractions, Zealandia is a first-of-its-kind urban wildlife sanctuary, packed with native wildlife and trails that will make you feel as though you've been transported to an entirely different planet.
Say Zealandia!
Zealandia.
Zealandia! Feels like Jurassic Park here.
You see the duck? That's
Aww.
it's supposed to be in here.
Later that afternoon, we were picked up for our seal safari excursion that we booked through the cruise. This tour took us off-roading through this incredible wind farm on the hills, which is the only way to access this secluded seal colony that exists right on the coast. Being able to observe these animals so close up was seriously a 10 out of 10 experience, and I highly recommend this excursion.
These days are running slow. Sunsets and shores far from home. Headlights are shining on the sea. No place on earth.
The tour also included a stop at a scenic viewpoint of Wellington, and then we were back on board to the ship and headed to our next destination.
But I'll never find this anywhere else.
It's so pretty, I'm crying.
The next morning, we arrived in Christchurch, New Zealand, where we had booked a full-day excursion to go jet boating.
Here we go!
Jet boating is definitely a 10 out of 10 must do while you are here. The excursion that we booked also included lunch and a little bit of off-roading after we did the jet boat. This did drag out a little bit long, so I would recommend just booking an excursion that includes the jet boat ride and then heading back to Christchurch to do some exploring, because we missed out on that port and it looked really, really cool. And finally, we have reached our final port of call, Dunedin, New Zealand. Our excursion this day started with a ride on the Royal Albatross for a wildlife sailing. The Albatross is the largest flying bird in the world by wingspan, and we were lucky enough to see one taking flight. Once we were back on land, we hopped on a bus to head to a private wildlife sanctuary called Nature's Wonders. Yeah.
Jump into the wave. Here comes another one.
Highlights of our visit here included these adorable New Zealand fur seal pups, as well as catching a peek at the blue penguin, which is the world's smallest penguin species. After our excursion, we went to go check out the port quickly before getting back on board. As with many ports in New Zealand, the ship does not actually dock in Dunedin. For example, this day we were docked in Port Chalmers, which is still a very cute small town and worth exploring if you don't have the time to take the shuttle into Dunedin. For dinner that night, we tried Raw on 5, another specialty dining option on board the Edge. This spot is perfect if you like seafood and sushi. We loved it. Evening entertainment this night included a show called Midnight Sax, which they did in the club, so a little bit more of an intimate setting than the main theater. This ended up being my favorite show of the entire sailing. It kind of had like a burlesque feeling to it. It was very fun and playful. Everyone was getting really into it. You definitely cannot miss this show if you are on board a celebrity ship that has it. The next morning, it was finally time for our scenic sailing day, cruising through Fiordland National Park and taking in some of the most breathtaking views that New Zealand has to offer. So as you can see, we are finishing up our day cruising through these sounds here in New Zealand. We started with the Dusky sound, we did Doubtful, and then Milford was the last one, which is what we're exiting right now. It was spectacular. I will say Milford is definitely the highlight. So if you're doing all three and you're not down to sit outside for all of them, definitely save it for Milford. A few tips that I have for if you're cruising through these sounds and you're cruising with Celebrity or with another large cruise ship is that you definitely want to stake out some spots on the ship to view these incredible sounds before you're already there, because it gets very crowded at the top of the ship. You might want to head down, with Celebrity there's some smaller decks on like 5 and 4. So if you can find a smaller, quieter deck, you'll definitely have a better opportunity to view, because it did get really crowded. That, or if you have access to a space like the Retreat, if you book a suite, then that's also a huge benefit. Other tips, it's cold. We're here in the middle of summer and I
definitely didn't have the understanding that it was going to be so cold in this part of New Zealand. I'm sure it varies, but for us in the morning, it was freezing. So bring some gloves, hat, scarf, whatever, at least for the morning. Another tip, bring binoculars. There's not a ton of wildlife, but we did see dolphins, and there's a ton of different birds you can see, and also just being able to see like the waterfalls and things up close made it worth it. And we use these like all week, so definitely pack binoculars for New Zealand. Cleaning up our stateroom after 10 days of just completely destroying it, but we are trying our best.
Doing our best.
Right. Time for dinner at Eden, so we'll see you there.
Eden is definitely the most unique of all of these specialty dining options on board. Here you'll find a restaurant that is absolutely stunning and a fine dining experience that certainly does not disappoint. Before reaching our final destination in Sydney, Australia, we spent 2 days at sea. We were finally able to catch up on some rest and check out some of these shows that we had missed earlier in the week. We also had dinner at Fine Cut Steakhouse, another one of these specialty restaurants on board. This one is definitely my favorite.
Our view this morning from the boat, and there's the Opera House.
After disembarking, we set out to have one perfect day in Sydney, Australia.
Waking up under all this rust, it's raining in my room. The water falls in pools until I'm.
And for a truly perfect end to a once-in-a-lifetime trip, we watched the Celebrity Edge set sail on her next adventure from our hotel room.
There she goes.
But all